You're listening to the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast with Matt and Rich. Welcome back to episode 44. Nick Boynton of the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast. On this week's episode, we have absolutely nothing to talk about because the Coyotes are in a massive losing streak, including getting shut out back-to-back games against the Caps and the Dallas Stars. So, yeah.
I can tell you this right now. We have stuff to talk about. But first, because I've been stuck at home for a week because I was the big sick, I'm going to need a little bit of energy for this one. I don't know if you can see. At Five Below, my wife pointed out they had Spirit Bomb energy drink. So let's see if, in honor of the man who is diabetic that we dedicated the podcast to, I will drink copious amounts of sugar because that's not at all weird.
There you go. How is it?
I didn't pay for it, but it's okay.
Okay.
It's fine.
So for the audio listeners, he's drinking a Dragon Ball Z, was an energy drink?
Yep, it's a Spirit Bomb.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Anyway, yeah. I do want to talk about one thing. I'm tired of hearing Coyotes fans complain. Like, I don't know what you were expecting. People cannot get mad at this team. You're winning too many games. You're too high in the standings. You cannot say that. You cannot say, oh, hey, when we're suggesting free agents you should sign because you can flip them at the deadline. Just asset farm free agents, not guys that are part of your long-term plan. No, pass. We'll win too many games. They'll win too many games. You can't say that. You cannot say we need to lose more games and then cry when we're on a 9-game losing streak. We win one game for whatever reason against Detroit. I was pretty mad about that. I was waiting until we hit 10 games in a row to make a video celebrating, but we only got 9 because for some reason we had to beat the damn Red Wings. Then you get shut out back-to-back games and we're just complaining. Why? This is the plan. This is the plan. Oh, hey, start trading these guys. I mean, the guys that I said trade for a month now. Oh, but not yet, or they're playing pretty well right now. It's like, yeah, they were. You capitalize on the high value because the second it dries up, maybe that value goes right back down. Like, yep. I don't understand the complaining. Like, and then one person is a mutual of mine on Twitter, which I don't have any problems with them or anything. But they're like, oh, bring this Tucson team up or whatever because the Tucson team has fun energy. They suck, right? Like, I know most people don't pay attention to Tucson. I know because the videos I make on them get maybe 40, 30 views or whatever. But they suck. They are awful. Yep. All right? They find ways to lose games constantly. They give up a ridiculous amount of goals. Even Prozy's not playing as well as I want him to. And I simp for Ivan Prosvetov.
Yep.
So I'm like, no. Like, you don't know what you're asking for. You really don't. Shut up. We're supposed to lose. Accept the losses. If you want Connor Bedard, Adam Fantilli, whatever, you have to be okay with losing. Like, last year, we started out, 11 or 10 straight games without a win? It's like, we did better this year. Chill. This is if you want Bedard, this is what you gotta do. Because Chicago's been ridiculously bad. Columbus has been astronomically bad. You want Connor Bedard, you need to suck.
Yep. Absolutely. And I get that fans are, poking the team with a stick saying do something, the meme. I understand, but this is exactly what we want to see midway through the season. How many years has it been where they suck right out of the gates and then all of a sudden they force themselves out of the first overall pick by getting Antti Ranta to be playing at a .930 save percentage, right? Like, it's as unfortunate as it is, fans, this is exactly what we want to see. This is the mid-season form that we want the Coyotes to be in.
This is the perfect what is it? Is it blue January, whatever? Is it blue or black January they call it because the seasonal depression? This is the January you want. I didn't want to see a single win this month. Look, is
it the January Blues?
January Blues. Thank you. I think I confused Black Monday, coaches getting fired in the NFL with the seasonal January Blues. Thank you. But it's like this team needs to suck.
Yep.
I get it. I like when they win. I cheer when they win. But this is for the greater good. Like, if you want one of these difference makers, you need to be bad.
Yep.
It's kind of the entire point of why the worst teams get the top picks, because
Hmm.
they need that top tier talent. We need that top tier. Like, yes, we got some good kids coming up. Yes, we were looking very good to start the year, and I still stand by. Depending on how we finish the season, we could still be a little bit ahead of schedule. But it's kind of a bad timing to be ahead of schedule when Connor Bedard / Adam Fantilli is on the line. But also, you don't want to use a hot start being a little ahead of schedule as an excuse to be like, you know what, it is what it is, and we'll just throw all caution to the wind. And then if you don't get that top tier talent, we're right back where we were, where we're not getting those good prospects.
Yep.
We get maybe one or two. We say we're good enough. Oh, hey, Jacob Chicker and Clayton Keller, you two are good enough. We'll keep building and we'll just push for the playoffs. And then you have to blow it up again in 3 to 4 years because your core is not good enough.
Yep. Perennially stuck in purgatory, as they say. Not good enough to make the playoffs, but not bad enough to get the franchise-changing players, essentially.
The worst thing you could be in sports is mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not talking about 2 years down the line where we're hoping they're starting to push for the playoffs. They miss them for a couple years, but they're making it competitive, so they're pretty mediocre. That's fine, because you'll already have your core. You're developing that core. We're not talking about that. We're not complaining about that when that eventually happens. What we're talking about right now is year 2 of a damn rebuild. Like,
Yep.
last year, we're all on board for us sucking. All right? And I was the only person saying they were going to win the amount of games they won last year, and I ended up being right, and people thought I was insane. They thought I was insane. All right? The only thing I said that was insane was this team could have been a playoff team if the Vegas effect happened, because the amount of players on that roster that were thrown away for nothing, like, it had the makings of it could have been a dark horse little, like, wild card run. Not like anything serious, but like that was the absolute max. But realistically, they were going to win. What did I say? 25 games. But they ended up winning last year. Like I got the exact number correct. If you look at my like season preview, it was ridiculous.
I don't remember.
But we're in year 2.
But what I do remember is that if you're listening to this podcast, please make sure to give it a like, a follow, a subscription on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And make sure to check us out on YouTube because, if you want to see two fat nerds talk about hockey, for some reason we have a video of us talking about it. So make sure to check us out at Desert Moon Hockey Podcast on the YouTube. Anyways, back to what you're talking about being right. Mr. Wright over here. Shane Wright. No. You were talking about that, and I would say I think fans just need to chill. When it comes down to it, I know you are pushing the buttons right now, but fans just chill. Like, yeah, it sucks to lose, but this is the goal. The goal is to lose. And
unlike other seasons, you don't want that, hey, here's a 5-game winning streak. Here's a couple of 3-game winning streaks broken in there, because that's too many points.
Yep.
Like, you need to be, in my opinion, minimum bottom 2. If people seriously believe the NHL is going to rig this draft lottery for the Coyotes, then you know what? You still want them to finish bottom 2, because then it makes it that much easier to do so. If you truly believe that, you still need the best odds. You still need the best possible odds.
Yep. Absolutely. Because Connor Bedard, man, on this team, with all the futures that we have, it would absolutely change this franchise for the better.
And even if you want a little more size and you get number 2 overall, Adam Fantilli is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I was talking to, I'll keep saying an individual at the Mullet Arena, because I'm not sure how much he wants to be talking about the amount of times we talk. But he even said, we have 3 guys that could be number 1 overall picks in any other year.
Yeah.
Like, this is the year you want a top 3 pick. I, of course, want top 2 or number 1 overall, because Bedard is just that good. But Fantilli as a consolation prize is actually a Jack Eichel as opposed to like a Dylan Strome as your consolation prize. And I simp for Dylan Strome. He's a good
Hmm.
player. I think the fans are way too hard on him. I will stand by that. He had terrible coaching. And at some point, I kind of understand why he didn't want to be here anymore because like 18, 19, when I came in and I'm watching this team and I'm like, he's running a more efficient power play unit. He's top 5 in faceoffs. Like, he's doing all these things right, and he's stuck on the fourth line. The Taka didn't want him here. Chaika didn't want him here. Like, nobody wanted him here anymore. The fans were tired of him, and I'm like, I don't understand because I don't care like when you were taken. Prospects don't control when they were taken. They
Yep.
control what they do on the ice. He was taken too high. Blame, what is it? It was the year before Chaika came in, but depending on who you talk to, he might have had more influence because they knew he was going to be the next GM. So whichever you believe that, whether you blame solely Maloney, partially Maloney, Chaika, whatever, I'm going to say 50-50 because I was told that, they knew Chaika was going to be the GM, so he had a little more say that year in 2015. Then you blame the people that drafted him. You don't blame the prospect. And he's been an everyday NHLer. He's not going to be your top 10 center or whatever, but he's been an everyday NHLer for the majority of his career.
Yeah, I think that fans absolutely rush to conclusions with him. Only playing like what was it, maybe 40 games with as a Coyote in total.
I'll double check that, but keep saying what you're saying.
Yeah, so essentially, he only played like 40 games as a Coyote, and everybody just drew the conclusions that, oh, he's just not good enough because they're expecting, him to just walk into the league and be Austin Matthews, essentially. Or, one of these game changers because he's a third overall pick. And yeah, sure, was he worth the third overall pick? No. When you look at that draft and you compare all the people below him, Mikko Rantanen, Mitch Marner, all those guys, sure, he's not as good as them, but also look at what those two players exactly have to play with on their line mates. You have Nathan McKinnon, you have Austin Matthews, who get to play with those two guys, whereas Dylan Strome wasn't even playing with Clayton Keller. I think he was playing with like Nick Cousins or something like that. He was playing with not superstar skill. So unfortunately, he got the pitchfork treatment just because of where he was drafted, and that's really sad to see. But ultimately, it is what it is. It got us Nick Schmaltz, and either we keep Nick Schmaltz or we can also move him for assets. Whereas even Chicago, for some bewilderingly reason, decided to just let Dylan Strome walk for no reason. I don't know why. That was a real head scratcher of a moment.
So when Dylan Strome got traded in 18-19, I want this for context. 3 goals, 3 assists in 20 games, a -10. Doesn't sound very good. He's playing on the fourth line. If you watch him, he was playing better than those stats show. But he had 4 power play points, and all 3 of those goals were on the power play. He was running a very efficient power play unit. His shooting percentage was down a little bit from the previous year. It was 7.5 as opposed to 13%, but he had a 57% face-off percentage. If you round it up, that's 57.98. 58% face-offs. That's what you want from a guy in the face-off dot. And one person I was talking to on Twitter recently about this was like, oh, well, he's always been carried by elite talent, or, it's disappointing because he played so well for the Roadrunners. I'm like, yeah, sure, but you also have to have coaching that knows what to do with this young talent. You have to have the supporting cast because Dylan Strome is good. He is a good, in my opinion, top 6, at least middle 6 guy. Probably not your first line, second line center. Probably similar to a Barrett Hayton. Actually, in a lot of ways, similar to Barrett Hayton, if we're being completely honest here. And fans also tend to hate Barrett Hayton, so I guess we just hate this archetype of player.
Yeah.
But you also need the surrounding cast. You need to have a good coaching scheme. Like, if Tournier would have came in when Dylan Strome was drafted, I guarantee nobody here would hate Dylan Strome. Like, I guarantee. But because we had a crappy coach, we were still trying to get out of a rebuild. that as exciting as it was in the moment, anyone with common sense, and yes, I'm going to criticize myself for not, thinking it through at the time as well, but anyone with common sense is going to look at it like this probably isn't going to work out, and they ended up rushing through that rebuild.
Yeah.
So it's just, you guys got to get over it. It's every time like Dylan Strome comes into town and I see people complaining about him, I'm like, dude, he doesn't even play here anymore. Like, and on top of that, the people that this is probably one of the main reasons why I didn't like Clayton Keller when I first started, because that was his second year was the year that I started covering 18-19, started watching again, and he was abysmal. He was just bad, all ends of the ice. He kind of got it together a little bit towards the end, but that's when I made that Clayton Keller's overrated video, and I was like, look, I want this kid to be better, and then that freaking kid is a damn elite, two-way player that passes well and gets involved in the back check. I'm so proud of that kid. But
Yeah.
like, I'm coming in watching that, and I'm like, so you guys are idolizing Clayton Keller, but you're bashing Strome, and if I'm looking at both of them, Strome, at that point in time, was the better complete NHL player.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't understand you people. I don't. Anyway, Stromer played 48 games for us, so he played a complete shortened season of 2013-2014. And that was enough to get everyone to hate the kid.
Yep.
Again, I get it. Mitch Marner, even Noah Hannafin, Zach Werenski, Timo Meyer, Mikko Rantanen, we ended up getting Lawson Krause anyway. If you look down, even Matthew Barzal, Kyle Connor. I like Evgeny Svechnikov, but that's probably not the one you're going to look for. Travis Konechny, Brock Besser, Ilya Samsonov. There were some really good names here. There were some damn good players that went after Dylan Strome. I understand the disappointment. I understand this is probably the biggest draft blunder of all time for the Coyotes.
Yep.
It's like, and their first ever pick was Dan Vogt, who I think played 10 games or less or whatever it was, or played like under a full season for the Coyotes, got traded for borderline nothing, and was out of the league within a couple years. Like,
Yep.
This team doesn't draft well historically, and I understand Mitch Marner would have been better. He would have, straight up. You put Mitch Marner on that Coyotes team, maybe they don't have to blow it up, because you'll have a good young player that's better than Dylan Strome. So you'll have him playing with like Clayton Keller, maybe him playing with Connor Garland. You probably would have made the playoffs at least one more time. You probably win a playoff round, I'd say 2021 or 2019, one of those 2 years you sneak in the playoffs and win a round, maybe.
Yeah.
And sure, maybe you don't blow it up right now. Maybe you're a little better. Doesn't really matter, because we can't go back. Like, the ability to go back in time would be phenomenal, because I would go back and stop myself from having to put my dog down. But guess what? We don't have that technology. It's not a real thing. It is sci-fi. When something happens that is not good, that's why I bring up Todd right now, just to put it in perspective. When something happens that is bad, you have to learn to cope. You have to learn to move on. And you can't just sit there and keep blaming everyone around the situation and being bitter about it. It's whack. There's no other way to say it. I know I will not fly for a white guy, so I probably shouldn't be saying whack, but it's whack.
Yep. Yep. I'm glad you got that off your chest again.
Thank you, sir.
I feel like we need a Dylan Strome therapy session about every 6 months. So
It's like this fan base has PTSD. Like, you mention, if you're saying Dylan and you don't follow it with Gunther, this fan base foams at the mouth. And I'm honestly a little surprised Dylan Gunther didn't get a little bit of a weird introduction, because Dylan.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else to say, to be honest. Like, yeah. I will say, as things heat up, are you excited for the All-Star game that is coming up, or are you somebody who's not going to watch it?
I don't care about the All-Star game anymore. Like, it's meaningless. It's been meaningless for a long time. And honestly, I don't think I've watched an All-Star game since Doan retired.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that answers that question. I will be probably watching it I say probably because it depends on my schedule, but it generally is pretty fun to watch some of the skills competition stuff. I think that they've been kind of doing a decent job at making them more fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, the games are kind of They just kind of like skate around and not really try, which is a little disappointing. I get that you don't want to injure yourself in an all-star game, but
Mm-hmm.
you can still skate. Like people generally like won't even skate. They'll
How
just kind
about
of
we just
glide.
we pass a rule you can't hit for
Yeah.
in the All Star game, and if you get a penalty, it's a game misconduct. So it's like, hey, keep it clean. But other than that, just go have fun. It's like those
Yeah.
are the two rules. My two All Star game rules. All right, no contact because these are the best players in the world. You don't want Ovechkin, Matthews getting hurt and having to miss regular season time because they went to the All Star game. So I think that's one. And number two is if you get a penalty, you're out for the game. Because then it also makes it a little more interesting because, oh, hey, whichever team's getting a little chippy, well, now they're going to be at a huge disadvantage. They have a little more open ice or some more tired guys. So you
Yeah.
have more fresh legs on the other side and they can take advantage of that. Like, that would also make it interesting to me. Do something weird. It's an all-star game. Have fun. Do something weird. Do something stupid. And I still won't watch it, but I might watch highlights on Twitter.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go.
People like sent me the jersey, and my wife really likes it. She likes pink, and I know it's because it's a throwback to an older design, but it's also because it's in Florida, so they're doing that whole like Miami Vice thing,
hmm
and I hate that aesthetic so much. Like I don't know what it is about the combination of those kind of bright neon colors, which is weird because like neon's kind of based, but it's so off putting to me that I'm like. Like someone asked me if I was going to do a video on the All Star Game jerseys, and I try not to make content if I know it's just going to be negative. Like I know straight up, there's nothing positive I could say about this, and I was like, I don't know how people like. What are your thoughts on it? Am I missing the mark completely on this? Because I want to talk about another couple of jerseys after this, but I don't think they look very good. Just that color scheme doesn't vibe with me.
I mean, they're going back to the 90s, like the reverse retro 2.0s had the orange NHL logo. Like they're just kind of giving like a nod to like the 90s and the 80s and all that. So I think it's fine. I've seen some real butt ugly all-star jerseys, so it could be worse. I get that some people don't want to go back in time. They think why, but ultimately that is kind of just style, right? Like style always is like a cycle. Like people wear, skinny jeans now, and like that's the cool thing. Yet our parents were wearing those in like the 60s. So, you know, and then like in the 80s there was like the bell bottom jeans, and it's only a matter of time until we see those ugly jeans make the rotation.
Silly bands? Do you remember 8th grade when everyone was wearing those stupid silly bands?
Yep.
Guess what? When we were at Five Below, my wife saw them. They're making a comeback.
Those
They're
are the
bringing
ones that
back the silly bands.
those are the ones that you like slap against your wrist and they like snap shut, or
No. They're little, like they're rubber. It's kind of like a rubber band, but they're shaped like different things. And like all the girls in 8th grade would have like 20 of them.
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
dudes would
yeah,
have
yeah.
like 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. my dad, like like the Live Strong like rubber bracelet things.
Mm-hmm.
He wears like 4 of those on his wrists, and he's done that for like 20 years. I don't know why. It's just that's my dad. I'm like, all right,
That's the
Dad.
style. Let's bring it back.
Yep. Yeah, he's
So
a trendsetter.
I want to talk some jerseys with you.
All right.
Because first off, you haven't given me the proper attention. You haven't given me my proper compliments for this phenomenal Flying Fox jersey I'm wearing today. So I want to brag a little bit. So I already have one. My wife, lovely as she is, for being mean to me, made it up by buying me a Shane Doan one of these back in the day. I also apparently bought a blank. I didn't know I had 2 of them sitting in the closet, but I get home from work. I think it was like a week ago. Might have been like the day after I came home when I was sick.
Uh-huh.
So she's like, "Oh yeah, so I got you something," and it was only $60. So I was trying to guess the jersey, and excuse me, and it turns out she found this on like Facebook in like a group for $60. Apparently, it had a couple of stains. She got them out. She's like, "Oh, I'm a woman. I can get them out." I'm like, "Sure, I don't care because now if it's a little damaged, I'll wear it everywhere because I have a pristine condition one."
Yeah.
So apparently, in this group, people, you need to DM these people. I mean, I'm glad you didn't because I got a new Shane Doan jersey and it only cost her, I think it was like 80 after shipping. I'm gonna tell you right now, all right. If you told me I had to punch a toddler to get a Shane Doan Flying Fox for $80, I would do it and I wouldn't feel bad because that jersey wasn't that popular. I remember it being kind of liked by the Coyotes fans and no one else. I remember the Coyotes fans kind of liking it, but they weren't exactly sad to see it go.
Yeah.
And you might have better memory of that than me. So it definitely was not a fan favorite, but it was not the biggest seller. They're not that common. I mean, you can find them, but they're all expensive. So that's why I'm like, if you see a jersey, I don't care if it has a couple of stains, and it's $60, DM the person. Don't sit there and just comment, "Oh, what size is it?" And you can zoom in, and I love this about Reeboks. It'll tell you the size right here on a little tag. Zoom in on it. And
Yep.
so many people, because they didn't DM this person, missed out on a phenomenal jersey that now the AZ Sports guy has. And now I'm going to find an excuse to wear all the time because it's Shane Doan, and it's the Flying Fox. And what are your thoughts on the Flying Fox, actually?
I liked the Flying Fox when it came out. I know some people didn't like it. A lot of the players actually liked it, but the biggest problem with the Flying Fox is they only had, I want to say in like the 20 or 30 games that they wore it, they only had like maybe like 2 or 3 wins in it. The thing was a losing machine. I don't know how they would it was like a cursed jersey where they never won a game in the damn jersey, but
They should have brought it back this year then. It would have been a good luck charm to get Connor Bedard.
Yep. I guess talking about controversial jerseys, you want to move into the new jersey that was unveiled? Okay.
Not quite yet. I want to talk about the Flying Fox a little bit because I love the design, but I do want to talk about one thing. And side note, this is completely like unconfirmed. It's just what I remember being told. And since my dad worked at the arena, I just took it as fact. The logo, wasn't it designed by the old owner's like girlfriend at the time, or
I think so, something like that, or it was like Wayne Gretzky's girlfriend or something.
I think Gretzky was already gone when we wore this.
Okay,
it was 2010. I think Gretzky was gone.
Then it was the owners. It was something weird like that. It was like a nobody. It was just like some person made the logo and they put it on the jersey.
And the thing is, I kind of like it. Like, yeah, the tail might be a little extra bushy, I guess, but like I think it's a nice logo. But what I was expecting instead of this, when you see this jersey design, and maybe for like 5 seconds, I'll take a step back just so you can kind of see the jersey. All right, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, the nice old design, the striping, all that. It is a good blend of colors. I like it. Do you remember that Phoenix Coyotes cursive word mark we were using back around 2010?
Yes.
That is the only word mark, and it's gonna sound hypocritical in a couple of minutes. We talk about the New Jersey, but I want to have a little bit of setup, and payoff. That would have looked really nice in this jersey. I think straight up, that is the only word mark I would have been okay with. That was back when all the teams had word marks, and it was acceptable to have a word mark jersey. Unless you're the Rangers, because for some reason their fans are like, we want the same jersey for 138 years.
Yeah.
What would your thoughts have been if they would have done that?
I would have hated it because I hate word mark jerseys. I've hated word mark jerseys my entire life. I think word mark jerseys are stupid because I think logos are way cooler. And if I'm going to be putting something on my body, I would like to do a logo instead of a word mark. I am not an advertisement, Matt, okay? You will not pay me to wear an advertisement. And all a word mark logo is just one big advertisement. Why would I be an advertisement board for Arizona? Come on now.
I see.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I think for the Reverse Retro 2.0, and I'm not going to complain about the orange one. If you just, I guess, one last little plug or whatever, if you watch my kind of review or when I showed the jersey off when I first got it,
Yeah.
I love the detail to it. Like, it's literally just, it translates the mountains on the bottom of the jersey that I've always loved, like that desert landscape, and it has a dust storm going through it. It's a really clean look. I really like that. It's a lot of detail, kind of makes it pop. I think I still like the first Reverse Retro a little more, because purple's just a cooler color.
Yeah.
But it's still a really good design. I do like what they did with it. I would have actually preferred they go back to this, but do it in white. Because I think if you're gonna do an alternate logo, and we're gonna lose the Howling Coyote because they already said last year they're retiring it. They're not phasing it out to have it as an alternate. Retiring. Howling Coyote's gone. I'm
Yep.
sad, but you know what? All this discounted merch. Well, the jerseys weren't discounted, but I have so many discounted hats, shirts, whatever that I took advantage of sales. Jerseys like the Phil Kessel jersey. Like, I'm good. I'm sad, but I gotten over it because the Kachina is still a good look. I'm gonna miss the Howling, but as an alternate logo, and it looks like a coyote. I know I call it the Flying Fox, but that's just what I've called it with my brother-in-law, and my dad for years.
A lot of people
But-
call it that just because it's red. It's red and it looks very similar to like a red
Well,
tail
apparently
fox.
everyone calls it the leaping coyote. I'm like, I don't see it leaping. I see it running away from this god-awful organization.
Yeah.
It's trying to escape. But, like, what would you have done if they would have made the Reverse Retro this but in white?
I would have said that's a bit lazy, to be honest. I think like you could have done the word mark if you really were like hell bent on the word mark. I think doing the word mark maybe with that jersey, but then imagine the black is the maroon color that they decided to go with.
Oh my god.
I think that would have been like an interesting nod. So like
That's
you
the
had
reverse.
yeah, so you had like that part and you had the collar right and just
So
I
it's
think
just,
that
this is black now, this is all maroon.
yeah. I think
God,
that
I would have loved that.
I think that would have been kind of cool. Like that would have been like a little bit of a nod to the old Flying Fox jersey, but I understand it's a third, it's not a Reverse Retro. To be honest, I think the Reverse Retro 2.0 would have been cooler doing what I just said there. With the Flying Fox than to try to do another one of the purple jersey just orange. I mean it's cool, but it was kind of you already did it. Like
I
you
feel
can
like
you can
they
do it.
wanted to bring that back as a third, and I love that jersey. Like, even if you bring back the green one, but the purple one still looks better. I would have loved they would have brought the purple one back as your alternate.
Mhm.
But when you have two Reverse Retros that are the same jersey, and then there was rumors they're gonna have a black version, which would have looked phenomenal, by the way, as like a desert night sky thing. That would have been great. I know the purple kind of does the exact same thing, but like it would have looked nice.
Yeah.
It still would have been like going on the same rabbit hole like 3 or 4 times. It would have had diminishing returns.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're gonna do an alternate, all right, I'm gonna say it. I don't care. If you think it's controversial, I quite frankly think you're either not fun or kind of low in the IQ. I apologize, just a little low in the IQ. This would have been a perfect alternate because it actually is a freaking coyote. You could even like Kachina this up because they are so desperate to recapture the Kachina lightning in a bottle. And the main thing, I talked about it again when I was talking about the leak. I apologize for all the little plugs, but the Kachina works because of its unique blend of colors. Like it works so well because of that.
Well,
And
it's
I
very
was so
Arizona
disappointed.
too.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Like, and I was so disappointed because it does look better, like in the proper lighting, but I'm still annoyed by it. So let's talk about this New Jersey, and I know you're gonna have stuff to talk about. I know it. I could tell.
Oh yeah.
But if they would have had that masked coyote, peyote head, whatever you want to call it, logo you're wearing, but it's an outline to match the outline of the Kachina, I legit would have thought it was phenomenal. Because this jersey, the color is beautiful. Like in the right lighting, better than the leak lighting. I love that kind of, what is it? Is it a brick red? Like it's a phenomenal red color,
Yeah.
and I love red. I was so happy to see red come back. Of course, I'm going to buy a couple of these because it's red, and I love the color red. Like, you were already going to get my money, regardless of if you put a trash can as the logo.
Yep.
Then they had to put an effing word mark on it, and it doesn't complete the look. Like, the word mark, it isn't even like they have some elements of the outline to make it fit.
Yeah.
Like, if it would have been a regular logo, but it's just the outline of a logo, like, that would have looked good. They had to do this stupid, weird font that has all this detail in it because you have a star above the A, and it's like a star in the night sky. And I'm like, you worked with a professional designer on this jersey. And instead of making something, it's like, I get it. They went for something a little more subtle, all right? It's a little more quiet. Sure, whatever. But you can't sit there and talk about all these things you want to put into it, all this detail, that you're trying to put into this, and it's one star as the dot in an I, and then a weird format, and then, the A has a little swoosh. It has a little swoosh. Shut up.
My favorite is that people have gotten a meme with it, and the memes with the word mark is that it's like kind of a copy and rip off of the more you know. Like, the and then it's like the more you know, and the stars like going through, like it literally looks like the more you know logo essentially. Yeah, it's not like, I like the bottom. I think the bottom looks really cool. I do like the look to that, and I don't think it needs more color. I think that Arizona is. I'm sorry, but people are going to hate to say this. Arizona is a bland state. We are very milk toast here, okay?
Boo,
look at all of our houses.
That's boo. We're talking about the nature. We're not talking about the houses. Boo.
Well, I mean, what are we going to make a jersey about northern Arizona? Like, no, because, the Canadians wouldn't believe us that we have evergreen trees in Arizona, okay?
But even like just we are known for our sunsets and our sunrises. Like, the sky here is beautiful. The mountains look really nice. The cacti and everything. Like, we have some very good views, even just in the valley. Like, I know what you're kind of saying, and I know that the Sedona stuff that is more up north. I get that, but it's like there's a lot you could do still with just the valley, and I still feel like they missed the mark.
Yeah, I think that some sort of like sunset ombre would look really cool. I don't know why they haven't tried that. It seemed to do really well with the Valley jerseys.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the Valley jerseys for the Suns. A lot of people like those jerseys.
The NBA, by the way. I apologize. I'm sorry if I keep cutting you off. The best jerseys of all time in the NBA. Do not care at me.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I'm surprised they didn't take a little bit of like a piracy nod from that and rip it off a little bit. I'm surprised, but it is what it is. I think the red that they went with, I did see them in person as well at the jersey shop at the Mullet Arena. I think the red looks really good. I do agree. In person, the red looks actually really good. I like that choice of red. I like the little bit more kind of simplistic bottom to it. I like that it's kind of a new design. It's not like the same bottoms as we've seen normally, and then also on top of that, it kind of like goes up. If you notice, like how that there's like the cutout for the bottom. It kind of like it follows that U shape of it, and I do like that actually. I think that looks kind of neat. It's it kind of reminds me of like an old like tunic from the medieval times. Like, you know what I mean?
A little bit. I know. As soon as you said that, yeah, I know.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of like a medieval tunic, and so I think it's a vibe. Like, I think that part is pretty cool. Well, it's just where they lose me is the word mark. Like, I don't like word marks, and nobody likes word marks, and they should have known that when all of social media was clowning on jersey. Like, they should have known that word marks.
It's different for us though, because we'll have a different font and we'll have a star and a swoosh.
Like they should have known that, word marks are going to get clowned on, and I think that's where they lose a lot of people, is just that word mark. The backs look good too. I thought the backs look really neat. The logos, or the player, I'm drawing a blank on them. The player, not bars. What are they?
The name and numbers. The
Nameplate. There we go. The player nameplates look pretty good. Even though we don't have a captain, they used the crescent moon as the C. I think that's a cool design.
That was literally 12 out of 10. Like
Yep.
that is like the A is a little weird, and it's like the first thing I thought was Alabama's logo. But
Yeah,
it's two cacti.
Yeah, it looks a lot like Alabama's logo. It's fine. I mean, Alabama's logo is kind of everywhere. There's a lot of jerseys that use like an A that's similar, so
It's
that's
a little
fine.
baseball, for my opinion. A little baseball / college, and I'm not. I'll put up with like ASU's little letter mark or whatever. It's not a word, so yeah, letter mark. But
Mhm.
like I prefer an actual logo showing what your team is. Like I love the D-backs. But the logo I much prefer that they use is the D that has it's a snake, because at
Yeah.
least it shows you it's a snake, because they're the Diamondbacks
Yeah.
instead of just an A with a little design. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
That's boring.
Yeah, I agree. I think the snake head one is pretty cool. And then it also,
So-
like, in the snake head, it says like DB, right? Like it's pretty.
There's a second one that just says DB, and it has a little tongue, and the inside the D and the B are eyes.
Okay, yeah.
That's another really nice one. Like,
I think that
do
one's cool.
More of that.
Mhm.
I'll put up with letters and words or whatever if it still makes the animal that you are supposed to be.
Yeah, like the ducks logo is actually just a duck foot. Like that's pretty cool. That's I like that.
And
Yeah.
yes, the Mighty Duck skull is better, or the Mighty Duck mask is better. Yes,
Mhm.
but it still is. If you're gonna rebrand, even with the very flat, boring Anaheim Ducks like word mark they went for the first year, I think that D still was like a webbed foot, like a pseudo webbed foot. Like there was still something at least.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you had to do anything to get out of Mickey Mouse's pocketbook.
And now they're going right back in. I'm assuming, like, because Disney owns that logo, right? They own the logo.
I think
and the
so,
branding
yeah.
of the Mighty Ducks.
I think
So
they
I
own
think
the
like in order to
branding.
keep using it, they just got into an agreement. I'm like, you know what? That's better because the fans like it more anyway. Like
Yep.
the fans like it, and I hot take. The reverse retro Mighty Wing is literally the best jersey the Ducks ever wore. I effing love that jersey. I had when we went to California, we stopped in the Ducks team store, and I had to get one because it's amazing. I love it.
It is very scuffed. That logo is it looks like a fifth grader drew it, but
But it's
you know
like, it's fun. Like it has that fun alternate vibe that's shouldn't be your main. But like it's
Yeah.
a fun alternate, Like it's
Yeah, I
do
can
more of
see that. I can see that. I can see it. It's not a full time, but it's a breath of fresh air, or whatever you want to call it.
But I do want to talk briefly because this one idiot kept like vehemently on Twitter like when I was talking to people, or people were talking, oh hey, I like how the crescent moon is the sea, and you know me, I love the red sea because I grew up with that, the red crescent moon. At this point, almost as much as the purple. The purple is better. It's more striking. I've already given up that mile or whatever. I was still happy to see that return. I wouldn't have even minded that being the main logo. Like I seriously think if that was the main logo, it would have looked better. But I also know it works as a captain's patch. I'm not going to complain. But to the idiot that kept like insisting, oh, it's not a captain patch. It's not a captain patch. What would they do for the A then? And I showed them what ASU does for their season A's. I told them about how Calgary had Atlanta Flames as their alternate captain for a while. Like, it's been done before. It is what it is. Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's not a captain's patch. It's a captain's patch. And then
It's a good
the
thing
A looks
nobody's.
weird.
It's a good thing nobody's gonna wear it, because we're not gonna have a captain for like years to come. So
I still think, and people keep saying Keller. I'm like, look, I love a lot of what I'm seeing from Keller. I like how recently when they're losing, he's showing a lot more fire, a lot more passion. That's what you want to see. Again, I'm not in the locker room, so I can't attest to that. I just know I met him in person. He's pretty quiet, pretty reserved. He seems that way pretty consistently.
Yep.
Don't know what he's like in that locker room. I can't speak to that. But when you see a little more of that emotion, that drive to win come out on the ice, that makes me a little more like, yeah, I'd be a little more okay with him having the C. But if he was going to have the C, he would have already got it this year. Like, in my opinion, it's been vacant now 2 years in a row. He would have had it. If you're like, hey, we know you're going to be the captain. I seriously think the captain's not on the roster yet. Like, I seriously think they're waiting on to see what, like, Lamoureux, Cooley, Doan, guys like that, how they turn out before they name a captain. Because if they name him captain next year, I'm going to wonder, okay, why didn't you do that last year? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't see Keller being a captain. Like, it's nothing against Keller. I don't think you put a C on a guy who's like a skill forward who should be focused on lighting up, the other team. I just don't see it being really the guy that you'd put that on. It just doesn't personally make sense to me. I think that he should be focused on scoring. He shouldn't be having to go over to the penalty box and making his case for every single time a player takes a penalty. Like, that's not something that he needs to be focused on. I think he needs to be, focused on scoring and not having to also protect everybody in that sense.
I agree. I literally can't even disagree there because it also you might have a similar effect, and I think that if Oliver Ekman-Larsson was named captain directly after Doan left, I think it might have worked out a little better. But when you also have quieter guys that, again, I can't speak to how they are in the locker room, but every other aspect they're just more quiet, more reserved.
Yeah.
It's like Teppo Numminen, I think, was a unicorn because he was very quiet, very reserved, and still led very well on the ice. I don't know if that's the personality type you want wearing the C consistently, because now that you've had more captains, two of your captains that's 50% that are all defensemen that were quiet, and only one of them worked out. Like, the numbers keep going down. Only 50% of that worked out. It's like, it's kind of one of those things where, like, he was a unicorn, and yes, Ollie was the only choice. Like, even I was asking him that fan fest before 18-19, when are they going to give you the C? Because he was there forever. Like, it's not like anyone else was more deserving. I just think that it just didn't end up working out. He doesn't have the personality type. That's something you learn retroactively if you're an idiot like me, or you see actively when you're actually paying attention,
Yep.
But
yep.
I want to go back to this. Back to this word mark real quick, because here's the thing, because the bottom, and also it looks better when you also see the sleeves, because when you just see the bottom there, I'm like, you can assume it'll also be on the sleeves, but it's also like you have to see it first. It's just the Kachina design, but it's an outline of it, and I thought that was so lazy. But even if you have just the Kachina logo as an outline, it brings the whole jersey together because it's a consistent look, and it would have been that consistent look. I just think that no matter what they did, if there wasn't a logo at the center of that jersey, it was going to look bad. Because now it legit reads like credits. Like, it reads like after credits or like a billboard. Because you have Gila River Casinos, Arizona. Like, it literally just reads like an advertisement now.
I don't think that the design on the bottom is like the exact Kachina, like the black Kachina one. I think it's like slightly different, right? Or am I wrong?
No, it's pretty much the exact, like, so all the little patterns at the bottom, it's just that, but it's an outline of it. So instead of having anything filled in, it's just the outline. And I think they added lines at the top of some of it because the black blends in, so it's like, it's supposed to look like it's coming in, but I think they just added some lines to it. And I thought that was lazy because it feels like they want so desperately to recreate the Kachina. Mm-hmm. And I stand by, it was lightning in a bottle. Like, it was the perfect blend of everything that you're not going to be able to recreate. But I understand why you'd want to, because the Kachina has been such a hot seller. Like, it's still a really well-selling jersey, and the white Kachina is even better, in my opinion. But that's what it screamed to me as. But when you have that word mark, it doesn't bring it together. Because, like, if the rest of the jersey looks a certain way, the rest of the jersey has that consistent outline look, it's not detailed, it's not extra colors, just an outline, the logo has to match. And they didn't even do that with a word mark. And a word mark should be the easiest because I edit thumbnails. All you gotta do is hit a button. And then there you go. It'll just give you an outline, and you can get rid of the color in the center. Now you have just the outline of the word. Consistent look.
I'm gonna have to interrupt you there. I think you're gonna have to put up a poll on social media because I don't think the outline is the same as the Kachina one. I think it's slightly different. I'm looking at the pictures right now, and there's no notching on the top of it. I'm gonna call sus on you, mister. I think that it is a similar design to the Kachina. Absolutely. It's taking a nod to the native design, but it is absolutely not the same thing, just in a negative form outlined. So
straight up, I'm gonna have to hard disagree, my guy.
I'm calling you out. I think
if the only thing that you can point out different is one tiny minor difference that can be easily explained.
Oh no, I can keep going. So
keep going then. I'll bring them both up right now. We'll have this debate right now.
So there's a black notch on the top there that's notched out. So you have like the bottom green notching on the Kachina, the original Kachina. There's like a green notching, and then there's like a black notching. I know the audio listeners are gonna be like, "Man, this is really riveting talking," but it is what it is. And then you've got like the cream center, and then you've got like these maroon, like L's, I guess is the best way to explain it. And like that's the Kachina one. Whereas like when you look at the red one, the new third, there's no notching on the top. And then there's also like a staple that's on the L's, on the top of the L's. It's different, man. It's just because you see the notching on the bottom, you're like, that's it. And I disagree, man. Dude, I think that
they're the exact same with a couple extra lines added.
Exactly. That's different.
It's the exact same.
That's different. You made the argument. You made the argument that it was the exact same. Go look at native artwork. A lot of it is very liney like that. Okay?
I'm not talking about native artwork. I'm talking about a Coyotes jersey. It's a product meant to be sold. It has no cultural value.
Where do they get that culture from? From the native artwork. And a lot of that stuff is very similar in that sense. And it's just slight little differences that completely change the look of it.
But again, for the jersey, we're talking about the jerseys. Mm-hmm. I'm talking jerseys. I'm looking at this, all right? And it's literally the exact same design. You have a couple small lines or whatever added, but it's essentially like you take the outline of it and hey, can I borrow your homework? All right, you gotta make it look a little different though. And that's what it comes out as. It's just negative with a couple extra lines, and it looks like it's a little thicker, but the reason it looks like that is because you have the black and the green at the top and bottom. Those colors are gone, so you have to replace it with an outline. It's literally the exact same thing, and then in order to make it look a little different, you add a couple lines in the middle, and you have it riding up the jersey, which I wasn't sure how I was going to like it. It looks fine. It actually looks kind of nice, because again, that's all you have for detail on it, so you kind of have to allow that to stretch throughout the jersey. I think that actually looks better, like the more you look at it. But again, it's the exact same thing.
I'm going to say this. The more I look at it, the more I'm actually going to concede. That just goes. So if you look at the red one, you know what it is? It looks like staples to me, and then it's a flat line with like no notching. But what it is the notching is just attached to the L's. So they just moved the L's up. Right? Is that not what had happened? Wait, like look at the black Kachina, and then look at the red the red third.
But do you see what I'm talking about? It's just
the L's,
the black up top and the green at the bottom, right? You have to be able to still have that consistent look. So instead of it being a color, they just add the outline. It's just the outline.
Yeah, I understand the outline, but you can also see though, like the L's that are in the red L's that are in the middle. They they just moved them up against the black notch. That's
see?
Wow.
Graphic design is my passion.
my life is in shambles right now.
It still looks nice though. Like I will concede this much, in the proper lighting, and I have to separate myself from the expectations, which is what I had to do because I expected it to be a lot more like the Coyotes jersey. One of them behind me that had essentially like the newer Howling Coyote that has kind of a little black on the bottom, but other than that, it's pretty plain. I was expecting a look more like that, and not just trying to copy the Kachina. Because the Kachina, again, lightning in a bottle. It's a phenomenal jersey. It really is. I've always liked it. I still prefer the Howling, but I've always liked this. It's always been a strong design. When you keep trying to remake something, you might as well just go with the original. Because the original that you're trying to emulate so much is that you're trying to emulate it for a reason. Because it's that good. So it's like, just stop trying to emulate it because you already got it. It's there. The original's there. Go play the original Last of Us. Don't buy the $70 remake. TLDR. But it's like, so that's, I'm looking at it and I was disappointed because I'm like, why do you keep going this route? And if you're going to, why not either, again, the Kachina logo, but it's an outline, so it literally just brings the entire look together. It's consistent, it's clean, and I would have literally not complained. I would have been disappointed, like from what I would have hoped, but then when you see it, you're like, you know what? I can't complain about that. It's a consistent look. Instead, you go for this stupid Arizona weird, like, cartoony font, and then you have a star and a freaking whoosh and whatever. And it's like, it looks weird, and you have this outline of a jersey that, again, looks nice for what they went for. It does look nice. The red is the best they've ever used. It is a phenomenal red. Like, I was so happy when you see it in the proper lighting, like other than that stupid, leak we got, like when they start showing it off, love the red. It's just that one element of the jersey throws everything off, and I also see it as, unfortunately, a cynical attempt to recreate a jersey that is iconic, but without the effort to try to bring it together. And you hired a professional designer to come in and work on this, and the other collab stuff, like the AZ hats, whatever he made, those look better. Those just straight up look better than this. The logo. Yeah. Not the rest of the jersey, just the logo. So, like, all of this made me so disappointed. But it's still a decent jersey. Like, it's fine. It looks nice. But it's like, it's never going to stick because what identity does it have of its own? Like, straight up, in 10 years, when the Howling Coyote comes back as a third because the nostalgia's there, because it at least had that striking red, it had the Howling logo. Same thing that Kachina had. It had that striking logo, the striking design. Everyone was nostalgic. It came back, 10, 15 years. Whenever it's time to throw back to other jerseys, are they even going to consider this? Is this jersey going to have any sort of impact on the actual identity of the team? Or is it just, hey, we'd like to do the Kachina, but again, so we can get more money?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this jersey's going to be sticking around for years to come. I think it's just going to be like a few-year thing.
And I'm fine with it, but when this team has had so many great jerseys, like, I have not disliked a single jersey they've ever made for this team. I know other people have. Screw you. I don't care. Your opinion's irrelevant to me. They've been nothing but banger after banger after banger, and we have our first mid. And I'm like, hey, yo, MCU, you've been pretty good to this point. Don't start, not trying anymore on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's disappointing, but it's fine,
Yeah, it definitely is kind of meh. The only thing is the word, the letter, the word mark logo. Like, it's so bad.
Just replace it with anything. Literally any Coyotes logo. Make it an outline of the logo. Boom. It's literally a good jersey. It goes from being mediocre to it's good, if not probably great, just because, like, the color red they used and the consistent look that it's brought together with. Like, I don't think I would have been able to complain. I literally don't think I would have been able to. But it's always starts with the damn word mark. And I'm like, oh, hey, we're going to get a crappy jersey now.
Yep.
We got a lot out of that topic.
Yeah.
I love talking jerseys here.
Well, I think we are just about golden. We're just under the hour mark. And to be honest, there's not much else to talk about this week. So I think it's probably about time to draw a close. Do you think?
Yeah, it's time to go now. Something your anchors or whatever. I only know a few sea shanties. It's not one of the ones I'm familiar with.
Okay, well, there you go. Sea shanty away, my fellow constituent. Yo ho,
Already
yo
with copyrighted
ho.
works.
A pirate's life for me. Disney
I mean, like,
immediately sends us the lawsuit.
oh, I was gonna say like that's the like that wouldn't even be top 10. But I'm thinking of like, are these are copyrighted though, aren't they? Like, or at least some of them are.
Are they old?
Because
Are they too old to be copywritten?
well, it depends on which one. Because like Wellerman, one of my favorite sea shanties. I don't know if that group that made the one that everyone listens to right now, if they made a song inspired by a shanty, which would then be a new song they don't own copyright, or
Yeah.
if it's just their specific audio version of this song is copywritten because that is how that works.
Yep.
But the song itself is okay. I don't know.
Yeah. Who
Go
knows?
away.
Anyways, yeah. Go listen to your favorite sea shanties. And we're going to call this podcast a close. So thank you very much. Make sure to give us a like, a follow, a subscription on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And we will see you next week. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Please keep the burp in. My wife will be angry.